To the Phil Steele Plus Tour with selections for this weekend's games for Saturday, September the 28th. And up for you today, 6 selections. So we up it a little bit, give you 6 big plays. Winning week last week. I've got 5 quick hitters with the guarantee. I'll have more on that later. And then, of course, we've got the rest. But a quick note, let's go over the records quickly. The tour records. So let's get into that. And so far this season, last week we went 3-2, could easily have been 4-1. I'll have more of that in a minute, but 3-2, winning week. Now 38-23 the last 12 weeks, and these plays are all free. I just want to show you how to use the Phil Steele Plus system and give you some free winners each and every week. 70-48, 59% over the last 23 weeks. Quick hitters, 1-2 last week. Disappointing again, now 132 and 107 over 3 years. They come with a guarantee this week. The NFL plays went 1-1 last week, now 5-3-1 over the last 11 weeks of the regular season. A Twitter or X free halftime play is 1-0 this year. I will have one this week. I'm going to put it up for you Saturday morning. Make sure you check out Phil Steele 042. And how about Chris with his FCS plays? 5-0 on Saturday. You got to love it. He will have the FCS plays up for you this Saturday as well. Maybe even a little early on Friday. We'll see. All right, let's get to our first game, and we're going to take a look at BYU against Baylor. Remember 2 weeks ago, I gave you Maryland over Virginia, and it was sort of a misleading final game where Maryland had blown a lead, should have won. Virginia had got a miracle win, should have lost. Same thing here. We're going to take a look at BYU and Baylor, and you all know what happened at the Baylor game. I don't have to tell you. My computer was just super angry. It was one of the best bets was Baylor. They had Baylor a +7 my computer had last week, or no, +1.5 against Colorado. Led the thing 31-24. Game-clinching field goal would have put them up by 10 points in the fourth quarter. Remember, we give you all the play-by-play right here on each and every game. Once again, I'd like to thank collegepressbox.com for letting us post these on our site. I go through the play-by-play of every game. I watch all 12 games on TV, then go through the play-by-play of every single game. Baylor comes down here, 45-yard field goal, no good. Would have clinched it with 2:16 left. Colorado, of course, gets the Hail Mary touchdown pass with no time left. And then in overtime, Baylor fumbles into the end zone for a touchback. Arg, tough loss for the computer. Meanwhile, BYU blew out Kansas State, right, 38-9. But look at this. They were actually outgained 367-241, out first down 17-14. In fact, if you look at the box score in that game, you go back to the second quarter, it's 6-0 Kansas State right here. Late in the first half, BYU kicks a field goal. Then Kansas State gives a fumble return for a touchdown, throws an interception. BYU gets another score. Intercepted to start the second half. BYU gets another score. And, of course, there was the punt return touchdown. All happened in about a 5-minute span. For the game, Kansas State had a 367, 241-yard edge, ran the ball for 228 yards. So we take a look at this matchup. It's going to be much like the Maryland over Virginia game of a couple weeks ago. We're going with Baylor minus the 3.5 over BYU. That's Baylor minus 3.5 over BYU. My computer has it my computer should be 25-12 on the best bets. But because they've lost 24-13 over the last weeks. And so we're going to go with the play, once again, is Baylor minus 3.5 over BYU. All right, let's get to our second game. And just a quick note, you're watching the tour here. I've got the regular special up. You can get full access to everything I show you here on the tour. 21 weeks of access, just $4 a week. Just enter the code EXPERTWINS. Go to the home place right here. You go to the home page, go to the store, and I'll just show you the store real quick once again. When I show you the store, you can get all this stuff that I mentioned. I'm not going to go back to the store and show it to you again, but you can get the single issue of Inside the Press Box, single issue of the NFL. You can get the magazine. You get the digital FCS magazine here. You can get Press Box for the season. Here's where you click on Phil Steele Plus and then enter in that code. And when you do that, you will get the discount, the $10 off, and you will get Phil Steele Plus for the rest of the year. You get college, you get this page here, all this FBS information, all the FCS information. We will have FCS logs up for you, by the way, later this week, and all the NFL information. We also have NFL logs. Take a look here. You click here for the NFL logs right now. Keeps you up to date, all the scores, rankings, and the spread, most importantly. Of course, on the NFL team pages, you get you just click on the team page and you get all this color-coded red and green. And by the way, the average game grade is updated and it is working. It works out perfect this year. So use your average game grades in the NFL. Also, these last 4 weeks average game grades in the NFL are going to be super valuable because teams play in certain levels. That'll be super valuable like week 6, 7 of the NFL season. You're going to be chomping on these. I'll probably have a last 4 weeks average game grade each one. But you get access to all this each and every week with the teams. And you just click on the team pages and you go to it. So our next game, we're looking at the revenge game of the week. And we're going to put Notre Dame here. And we are going to put Louisville over here on the left. Now, last week the Tour had a tough loss. The top game I had was Georgia Tech. Look at this. Georgia Tech had an 18-14 first down edge, 410 to 326 yard edge. Amazingly, in the second half, they had the ball almost the entire second half. They were plus 10.5, and yet somehow they didn't cover. And how did they not cover? Well, in the first half, they gave up a lateral, which was recovered in the end zone for a touchdown, giving Louisville 7 points that they shouldn't have had. And then here in the second half, Louisville gets a 57-yard TD pass to go up by 7. And let's go through the play-by-play real quick down here. So now we're down by 7, but that's okay because Georgia Tech's really controlling play here in the third quarter. Are we in the third quarter yet? Let's take a look here. Here we are. Third quarter. Georgia Tech drives down. They settle for a field goal. They gave up that long touchdown pass here, 57-yard touchdown pass. Georgia Tech gets it back, comes down, and they get stopped on downs. They had a 1st and goal, and they get stopped on downs. They do get a safety out of it. They come back down. They go and kick a field goal. It's blocked in return for a touchdown. Then Georgia Tech comes back down the field. They get to the 21 of Louisville. 4th and 1, they get stopped on downs with 3:53 left. Somehow they lost the game by 12, getting 10.5, despite having the yardage edge, or else the Tour would have been 4-1 last week. A little bitter about that, but let's move on. Let's move on to this week. And this is a revenge play. And last week I had a revenge play on here. Clemson minus the points over NC State, and Clemson won that thing handily. It wasn't even a game in the second half. So we got Louisville here on the left and Notre Dame on the right. So Louisville last week outgained by 84 yards. Last year when these two played, it was turnovers that did in the Irish. Look at this, +4 in turnovers for Louisville. And Louisville beat them 33-20 as an underdog. Now, how do the revenge plays do? Now, on the schedule with numbers, and I'll put this down here. You know how this works. The schedule with numbers is available. If you go to your page here, go to the 2024 schedule with power rating forecast right here. That takes you to this. Click here and you get this for all the games. I've only shown you the games some of the games I'm going to use on the tour, but this is available for all the games. This tells you what each section is right here, all the way down the line, gives you a complete reason or update of what each one is. So do use that. But let's go back to this schedule with numbers. Let's look how the revenge plays have done. 3-1 again last week. The yellow plays are included in the overall grade, the yellow 2s. 4-1 including those. On the season, the green, the revenge 3 plays are 7-1. And last year they were 48-20. So over 2 years, 55-21 on revenge 3 plays. This is a revenge 3 play for Notre Dame. They lost on the road last year. They're back at home this year. Louisville's off a misleading final. And so you add it all up. This is amazing. Use this schedule. The revenge plays, once again, went 3-1 last week, 7-1 on the year, 55-21. The revenge plays are the green ones. Greens are best bets when you open up this schedule. There are a ton of best bets each week. In fact, best bets are 126-90 the last 3 weeks. This gives you the record of what each column is doing up here. This gives you the year-to-date record here. And this gives you a 2-year record as well. on these games. So use the schedule. You get yourself a ton of free best bets. It's all available on Phil Steele Plus. And once again, if you want to just sign up for Phil Steele Plus for the year, you can use this Expert Wins and get it for $89. You have access to all this information I'm showing you all season long. All right, let's move on to our next game. But our revenge game of the week is Notre Dame +6 over Louisville. And that is, by the way, this is a new column out here. This new column, what I did is I went back and added up. If, like here, this is a best bet on Baylor, so it's a Baylor 1 best bet play. Notre Dame, this is a best bet on Louisville, but you got 1, 2, 3, 4 best bets on Notre Dame. So it's a Notre Dame 3 best bet play, which puts it in green. On the season, ones rated 3 and higher are 11 and 5. You got to love that. And if it's 2 and higher, 25 and 14. There's just a ton of them again this week. So make sure you check your free ones. Last week they went 1-1, but on the season 11 and 5, and Notre Dame is a 3 play this week. We'll get to the other one. All right, let's get to the one that got a little bit of controversy last week. The computer wants to use play. And I had a couple folks say, hey, if the computer wanted to use it, why don't you let them use it? Last week it was Indiana over Charlotte. And I didn't allow the computer to use it. I said, that's too many points. I don't like having best bets out there. There are that many. Naturally, the computer won the play. And this is another one this week where the computer wanted to use this as a best bet, and I wouldn't allow it. So we're going to add these up at the end of the year, and I tell you what, if it's close, and if I'm up here at 65%, the computer's at 63%, and these things put it up to 66% on the year, we'll go ahead and give the computer the title at the end of the year. But this is one that the computer wanted to use, and I would not let it use. It's Alabama +2 against Georgia. And look at the computer's forecast, showing Alabama with a 184-127 rush edge, a 190-149 pass edge, 375-277 total yard edge, winning the game 28-15. That's shocking to me. Now, here's my write-up on the game, and I talked to you about how Bama hasn't been a home underdog since 2007, and all that stuff is in here. I've got Alabama winning 23-20, but my computer loves this even more, 28-15. I didn't allow it to use it because the computer's already got 5 big best bets this week. And let's take a look at how the battle's going. You probably want to know. Once again, the battle is on. I have beaten a computer week 1, 3, and 4. In fact, on the season, my best bets on Inside the Press Box, 11 and 6. The computer, as mentioned, tough loss with Baylor last week. Should be 9 and 7, but it's 8 and 6. 24 and 13 the last 13 weeks. And we've had FBS versus FCS best bets as well. I'm 6 and 3 on those. The computer's 5 and 3. You add it all up. If you take all the best bets that we put out on Inside the Press Box this year, 30 and 18, 63% for Inside the Press Box. And I'll give it to you again. I really appreciate you guys taking the tour. And if you want to get this single issue, I'm giving you $5 off again. Just type in Battle 24, get this week's single issue. Normally $20, just $15. And once again, this week you get, I believe, 60 some odd games. You get 56 games this week, all written up just like this with my computer's forecast, with my forecast. It's all up there. Just go to Battle 24 and get it for $15 this week. All right, let's get to this game. We just did the Alabama game. My computer likes Alabama +2 over Georgia. It's the game I would not let my computer use, and the computer won last week with Indiana over Charlotte on the same one. Quick mention to you, FCS plays last week, 5-0. Now, we will have FCS plays up, so make sure you sign up to on the YouTube, that you'd like it, and you subscribe to it. You'll get a notification when the FCS are up, and then go ahead and play them. But 5-0 last week for Chris. Will he have an Ivy League play of the week? Remember those Ivy League plays of the week last year, guys? They were phenomenal. We'll see how Chris does this week, but that'll come up. I don't have them up now because the lines are just starting to come up in the FCS, but we will have those up for you. 5-0 last week. Make sure you check them out again this week. And once again, when you go to the homepage, I'll show you real quick. Last week, he had the 5 tour selections. They came up September 21. You just click on that, and you could go back and see what they were, but perfect 5-0 last week. Way to go, Chris. All right, let's go to my AGG game of the week, the average game grade of the week. And we're going to put UCF or Colorado on the left, and we're going to put UCF on the right. And this has got a couple things going for it. And as you know, when I'm giving you these plays, I like to show you a couple of different things. Well, first of all, we just went over the Colorado-Baylor game, a misleading game, a game that Colorado should have lost. Remember Nebraska? And use these halftimes here, guys. These halftimes are very valuable. They were down 28-0 at the half against Nebraska, 213 to 112 yards. They did come back in the second half. Nebraska sort of played conservatively, prevent defense. They scored 10 points, but it wasn't as close as 28-10. It was more like 28-0. On the year, their average game grade that they're playing to is a 102.4. UCF is playing to a 120.7, so that's 18.3 higher. Plus, the other advantage you have here is the schedule. Colorado is playing a fifth straight week. All right, so Colorado's playing a fifth straight week, and they're coming off an overtime win. So those are 5 really big. The Nebraska game, the rivalry game, the overtime game, and now they're playing a fifth straight week. Meanwhile, UCF, fresh off a bye. So if we take a look at the schedule does do situation, and this is a situation play as well. Now, let me explain to you how the schedule works here. If it's a positive number like this is, that means play the home team. If it's a negative number, that means that the visitor has an advantage. But only the green are the ones that are the best bets. I believe I put some yellows in there. On the season, they are 9-10, but going back to last year, 73-58. So the schedules do well. 9-10 currently on the season, but this is a schedule play. This is an AGG play. UCF by 23.1, and the line is 15. So it's a UCF 2 best bet play, and that's here. Last week the 2s went 5-2, and on the season overall, these best bets are 25-14 if you include the green and the yellow. If you want just the green, that's here 11-5 for the year. So you've got UCF, which won at TCU. That's a good win here against Sam Houston. They won by 31. And as mentioned, Colorado got dominated by Nebraska. Situation play, AGG play. We are going to go with UCF minus 15 over Colorado. All right, let's go to my Streak of the Week game. And for the Streak of the Week game, we're going to go to Stanford at Clemson. And what's the Streak of the Week here? It's not obvious because Stanford's won 2 games. So what kind of streak could you possibly have, Phil? Well, let's go to the last 40-plus years results. And when we go there, you've got the results all the way back to 1976. Everything. I tell you, I've been building this website for a long, long time. You have access to every score of every game and every line of every game since 1976. That's practically 50 years of information, all at your fingertips. And this will tell you that they didn't even have totals on games until 2003. So some of you might not even realize that. And now we put the half times in here as well. A couple things I want to explain to you. If it's bold, that means the team won the game outright. And this WL means whether they covered or not. And that's going to be helpful here. Let's take a look at how Stanford's done against ranked teams. They haven't played a ranked team this year. But Stanford played a ranked team here in Notre Dame. Look at the L. Stanford played a ranked team here. Look at the L. Stanford played a ranked team here. L. Stanford played a ranked team here. L. Stanford played a ranked team here. L. That's 5. Ranked team L. 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 That's 10 straight spread losses. How about here? Ranked team loss. Ranked team loss. That is 12 straight spread losses to ranked teams for Stanford. The other things I want to point out in this game, it should be a schedule play. Let me make sure. I don't even have it up here. It should be a schedule play on that thing where, because Clemson's got the scheduling advantage. They're at home. They had a bye 2 weeks ago. You got to like that. Stanford just traveled to Syracuse. They traveled back home to Stanford. Now they're traveling all the way back to the East Coast to play Clemson. Back-to-back East Coast games against a team that was off a bye 2 weeks ago and at home last week. Scheduling advantage, Clemson. And Clemson, of course, they're playing at 117.9 level. They're at a 98. Add in the home field edge. You're looking at Clemson by about 24. They're only laying 21.5. You've got the fact that Stanford has lost 12 in a row against ranked teams. And by the way, Clemson is off a misleading final. They won the game 59-35. How's that misleading? Well, let's take a look. It was 45-7 at the half. In fact, in the first half, they had 56 points and 525 yards against App State, 45 points and 408 yards against NC State. Look at the box score of this game. Clemson led 59-14 in the fourth quarter. With Clemson's backups, NC State gained over 200 yards, and they gained 214 yards and 21 points in the fourth quarter. So you say, hey, Clemson's defense not playing very well. They gave up 440 yards to NC State. Not so fast. They only gave up 216 yards until the game was completely out of reach. And against the backups, they scored. And if that's the case here, where Clemson's up by 42 and Stanford gets a score or two against the backups, we still cover at minus 21.5. They would have covered here. They won the game by 24. So we're going to take Clemson as my streak of the week game, minus 21.5 against Stanford. All right, let's go to my series play. And this one shows you a little bit about how the schedule is. It shows you every part of the equation. As you can see in this New Mexico State team, there's a lot of best bets. This one says play New Mexico State. This one says play New Mexico State. This one says play New Mexico State. Play New Mexico State. This one says play New Mexico. This one says play New Mexico. This one says play New Mexico State. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 best bets on New Mexico State. 2 on New Mexico. Comes up 3. You know, I don't have control over each category and what they put best bets on. So in this case, New Mexico State's a positive 3 play. But I called it a series play. And by the way, next week I'm going to add another column to the schedule. And it's one that I should have added a while ago. It's going to be an angle column. So what it's going to take into effect is, hey, this team is 12-1 against the spread at home versus a team that's 3-9 against the spread on the road. And this team is great off a bye, or great as a favorite, or great in conference play, or dominates the series. I'll add up all the angles that a team has on its side and put it in as a 1, 2, or 3 angle play, 4 or 5 angle play, and the angle plays will be best bets will be 3 and up, and I'll put those on the schedule next week. Use that schedule. I'm telling you, it's a lot of fun. I put a lot of work into it each week. I use it for my handicapping. But anyway, let's take a look at this New Mexico State New Mexico game. We're going to put New Mexico on the left. Let's find them. New Mexico's here, and they are the visitor. And we're going to put New Mexico State on the right. Now, New Mexico State, they were ugly against Sam Houston State, although not a horrible game. They were plus 17. They only lost by 20. They did get blown out by Fresno. They almost beat Liberty at home. Remember that game? They actually, let's go back and take a look at that game. They actually led. Here's the home team out here. They led the entire game. Liberty, very good undefeated Liberty team, scores a touchdown with 1:05 left to take their first lead of the game. So New Mexico State is capable of playing good football. And Southeast Missouri State, I'll show you more on this on the FCS when we show you that FCS version. 5-0. Did I mention he was 5-0 last week? Oh, yeah, 5-0 last week. Southeast Missouri State beat North Alabama. They did lose to New Mexico State, and they beat UT Martin. So they're not playing bad this year. They were poor the previous year, but they're playing better this season. But let's go back here to New Mexico State. Got them on the right. And let's take a look at the series history. And when you click here, all you have to do is highlight the team name, and this shows you how the series has gone. Now, New Mexico State has lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're 4-5 straight up the last 9. But look at this. Now, let me explain this to you. If it is green in this column, that means the team won the game outright. If it is red in this column, they lost the game outright. So at a glance, you don't even have to look at the score of the game. You could tell whether they won or lost. Same thing over here. No math involved. If this number is green, they covered. You don't have to say, okay, they were plus 19.5 and they lost by 9, so they covered. No, the math's done for you. Green means they covered. Red means they didn't cover over here. And this also tells you how the home team did. It gives you the over-under on the game. And look at the amount of upsets in this series. And keep in mind, New Mexico State is a large underdog in this game. They're like a 9.5-point underdog. Let me check this morning's numbers on that. They are a 9.5-point underdog. There's been 4 upsets the last 7 years. There's been 6 upsets the last 12 years. Look at all these upsets. So outright upsets, it's a dog series. Look how the dog is done here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dog lost there. 5, 6, 7. Dog lost there. Dog won there. Dog won there. Dog won there. Dog won there. So 1, 2, there's only been 2 losses for the dog in all that span. So it's a series where the underdog does well, New Mexico State does well. And granted, New Mexico's playing great football this year. I like what they did against Montana State. They lost. I like what they did in the first half against Arizona. They were only down by 1 yard. I like what they did in the first half against Auburn. They were only down. They actually had the yardage edge. I like what they did in the first half against Fresno. In fact, they outgained Fresno for the game. So they have been playing good. But you're asking an 0-4 team with a poor series history to go on the road, laying 9 in a rivalry game and win it. We're going to take New Mexico State +9. The dog is 11-2-1 with 7 outright upsets in the Battle of I-25. Take New Mexico State plus the points. Also in this one, I want to point out, let's go to the last 10 years. You get all these spread records on each team. New Mexico State is a home dog, 2-1 the last 2 years, and then they beat Liberty, so they're 3-1. And how about New Mexico as an away favorite? How many times have they been an away favorite? Probably not many. 2-5-1. And that includes a 101 here. So 0-2, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, 1-5 as an away favorite the last 9 years. It's a rare roll as an away favorite. Look at this. You want to know how teams do as a conference favorite when favored by 20 or more, as a conference dog by 20 or more? All this is at your fingertips. All you have to do is click right here. Last 10 years straight up in ATS records. So make sure you utilize that. Now, one thing before I get to the quick hitters and the guarantee, I haven't given you guys a discount all year on my press box, but I'm going to this week. I appreciate you guys. I've been giving you basically a 25% discount each and every week on the single issues for $15 each. I'm going to give you 25% off this season. Now, as mentioned, the best bets are currently 30 and 18 on the year. Right now, the price for college inside the press box is $149. Take 25% off, it's $111. Same thing with the NFL. If you want to get the postseason, it's $79. And I don't think that $79 is the correct price. Todd's got that typed in wrong. He'll correct that. But 25% off $89 is more than $79. And then for the college NFL bundle, it's $186.75. That's college and pro. The one thing I do want to mention is that if you sign up to PressBox, like here, for $111, you not only get the final weeks of PressBox for the rest of the year, and this says 20, but that's not 20, it's 15 actually. Todd changed that this morning. He shouldn't have changed that. These are all 15s times the total amount. So anyway, you get college PressBox for the rest of the year for $111. And I told you about getting Phil Steele Plus for $89. Guess what? You get Phil Steele Plus for free. So you get Phil Steele Plus and PressBox for $111 if you sign up for the college. That's all right there. Just use the code word TOURVIP. That's TOURVIP. 25% off. All PressBox subscriptions include Phil Steele Plus for the year. And so you sign up to PressBox, you get that full $99 value of Phil Steele Plus for the year. 25% off this week there. Just use the code word TOURVIP. All right, let's get to our guarantee for the week. A quick hitter guarantee. Now, I like to win on these tours. My quick hitters, there was one time, I think at the start of last year, these things were on fire. They've been struggling a little bit lately. I'm disappointed. A 1 and 2 week for the quick hitters last week. Well, I've got a guarantee this week. The quick hitters, I got 5 of them for you, must have a winning week, or you get my NFL Inside the Press Box, a $20 value free this weekend. Now, the NFL Press Box went 2-1 last week. It won with Buffalo. Was that an easy win? And it won with under in Tampa Bay, Denver. So 2-1 last week for the NFL Press Box. If for any reason we do not have, out of these 5 games, a winning week, just go to my site, and this is a free tour I'm giving you, and here I'm still guaranteeing it. Go to my website, go to purchase the NFL Press Box, type in the Quick Hitter Tour. It's QH Tour. That's what the QH stands for, Quick Hitter. QH Tour, Sunday morning, and you will be able to get my NFL Press Box, a $20 value, absolutely free, just because the Quick Hitters didn't have a winning week. But this just in, I'm expecting a big winning week for the Quick Hitters. Put a lot of work into it, as I do all the time. But, I mean, the Quick Hitters have had 2 straight losing weeks. They can't have 3 in a row, right? All right, let's get to them. First game I'm going to call my turnover game. We're going to put Michigan State over here and Ohio State over here. Now, Ohio State's a better team. We all know that. Ohio State's playing dominant. We all know that. Michigan State has played well. They had that game where they could have been down by 10 against Maryland, yet somehow won. Last week, Boston College had a first and goal at the 1 and didn't score at the end of the game. And they somehow covered against Boston College, which made me a little mad. Made my computer mad, too. I think my computer, once again, my computer had some losses last week. One of them was Baylor. One of them was Boston College in a game BC could easily have covered and did not. But anyway, the one thing I want to point out, the reason is my turnover game. Ohio State has the best secondary in the country. Go ahead and look in your magazine. Who did I rate the number 1 secondary in the country? Ohio State. Look at Aiden Childs. 4 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions. You got Aiden Childs throwing against the best secondary in the country. And plus, Ohio State is a team that's been putting it down in the second half. They put up 21-0 in the second half here. They put up 21-0 in the second half here. They put up 45-3 in the second half here. Ryan Day has said, when we're in the second half, I expect our second and third team, which is loaded with talent, to come out and play like the first team because we need to build depth for the playoffs. So you have an Ohio State team that's going to put the hammer down the second half, a much better team, and I think they get the turnovers. Plus, look at all these weapons on offense. Judkins and Henderson, a running back. Smith and Igmuka at the receiver position. Will Howard there. A better offensive line. A dominant defense. They're holding opponents to 212 yards per game, below their season average. That's number 2 in the country. We're going to take Ohio State minus 23.5 on the road as my turnover game for the quick hitters. How about this one? Wrong team favored. We're going to put Georgia Southern on the left, and we're going to put Georgia State on the right. I don't know if I put this one up there or not on the schedule. Let me see. I did. Okay, good. So Georgia Southern is on the road. Georgia State is on the right in this game. I say wrong team favored. Now, Georgia Southern this year, let's take a quick look here. My computer had a best bet on Georgia Southern against Boise and won it. My computer had a best bet on Georgia Southern over Nevada on the road and won it. So my computer likes Georgia Southern. My computer has Georgia Southern winning this game 31-28. I said wrong team favored. Georgia State is a 3.5-point favorite in this game. So they not only have to win the game, they have to win the game by more than 3 points. And yet I think the wrong team is favored. Well, I have great faith in my computer. I mean, did I show you my computer's record? My computer has a record of 24-13 the last 13 weeks, and it could be higher if I didn't let it play the Indiana game last week and it didn't suffer the Baylor loss. But anyway, they're plus 3.5, and Georgia State did beat Vanderbilt. I'll give them that, but that was an odd situation for Vanderbilt being a away favorite. They barely got past Chattanooga, and they caught Georgia Tech off the trip to Ireland and still didn't even cover the game. So if you look at my preseason line on this game, in my schedule with numbers, I had Georgia Southern a 10-point favorite. I still have Georgia Southern the favorite. If you look here, Georgia Southern, they met last year. They won the game. They should be favored by 11 because they won last year's game. Georgia Southern, they won at 44-27. Keep in mind, this is Helton's 3rd year. Coach Helton told me it's by far his best team he's had. Georgia State's in its first-year head coach, and their head coach took over after spring practice started. So wrong team favored, Georgia Southern plus 3.5 over Georgia State. Let's go to Puncher's Chance, and this is going to show you something else that you can get on philsteele.com, which is really valuable, and that is the individual player stats. And they are updated not only for the FBS, but also for the FCS. And we're going to take a look at South Alabama, which is over here, against LSU. Now, I have not been blown away with LSU this year. They lost to USC. Nichols had 295 yards against them. The previous week against Louisiana Tech, Nichols had 200 yards. And that game, if you go take a look at the box score, was actually, what was the score in that game? Let's take a look at the box real quick. It is 16-14, 23-21. So LSU did score late. They scored with 1 minute and 9 seconds left to beat Nichols by 23. And here they're taking on an explosive South Alabama team. And they are laying 22.5 points to, and I say explosive. What do I mean by explosive? 38 points against North Texas, 582 yards. Now, here's what I want to point out. This Ohio game, they had 20 points, 335 yards. Let's look at the individual player stats. Gio Lopez, their dynamic quarterback, 432 yards. Aha, Gio Lopez didn't play against Ohio. He did play here. And they have been explosive. So let's take this game out of the equation because Gio's playing. 38, 87, 48 points, 582, 620, 474. That gives South Alabama's a puncher's chance if you could score like that, especially against an LSU defense that's allowing opponents 6 yards per game above their season average. The South Carolina game, they could easily have lost. South Carolina should have put them away numerous times. And the UCLA game was actually 17-17 at the half. And that's a UCLA team that's going to struggle this year. So we've got a South Alabama team that's very explosive. Hey, worst case scenario, guys, LSU's up by 28 in the fourth quarter. Don't you think South Alabama can score? And how about Fluff Bothwell? Fluff had a huge game last week, 116 yards. He had 143 against Northwestern State. He is a freshman that has been exciting. Watch Fluff. He's averaging 9.7 yards per carry. So my puncher's chance play is South Alabama plus 22.5 against an LSU team. And I say I'm not impressed. Vegas hasn't been impressed. They're 0-4 against the spread. All right, my top versus bottom play this week. And once again, this is part of your guaranteed quick hitters. So far, we've got guaranteed Ohio State over Michigan State, Georgia Southern plus the points over Georgia State, South Alabama plus the points over LSU. I got 2 more to go. Let's go with Iowa State on the road against Houston. Now, Houston did play a good game against Oklahoma and Rice. I'll give them that. Rice has had 3 crappy games this year, and that was one of them. But the UNLV game, Houston was not going to score. I watched that game, good plays, bad plays. It was all UNLV. Houston got a garbage TD. They drove 90 yards in 12 plays for a garbage TD with 1 minute left. I'm counting that as a shutout. And then last week, I had a best bet in my Inside the Press Box on Cincinnati. So I'm watching that. It's my number 1 game. Guess what? By the time halftime rolled around, I'm up 24-0. And I'm thinking Houston's not going to score. I started focusing on the other 11 games I'm watching. And guess what? End of the game, 34-0. They only had 233 yards offense. And one thing I want to show you about Cincinnati is I was not expecting a dominant defensive effort from Cincinnati because coming into the game, look at this, 438, 498, 380 yards on defense. They held Houston to 233 yards. In fact, I want to show you something else you can use here on Phil Steele Plus, which is extremely valuable when you're trying to break down the games for the weekend. Let's take a look at Houston over here real quick. Houston, on the defensive side, on the offensive side. Yeah, the offensive side. They were minus 206 yards per game against Cincinnati over here. That's 30. They're averaging 37 below when the opponent allows. Now, I'll say this. When I went over the team with Coach Campbell this year, almost every single position, he said, this is probably the best we've had since we've been here. This is the most experience we've had since we've been here. Deepest we had since we've been here. And last week, I was a little questionable. They don't do well great as a big favorite, right? Well, guess what? They beat Arkansas State 52-7. There was no let-up. It was 31-0 at the half. They beat them in the second half 21-7. So can they win big on the Big 12 road would be my question mark. And I have question marks about that. But let's go take a look. You could look in your magazine on this. But last year they played Kansas State on the road and beat them 42-35. They were a 7-point favorite at BYU and beat them 45-13. They were a 3-point favorite at Baylor and beat them 30-18. They went into Cincinnati and beat them 30-10. Now, what's their average win in those games? 20, 12, that's 32. 32 there, that's 64. And 7, that's 71. So close to 20 points per game they won their road games by last year. They're laying 13.5. I don't know if Houston's going to score against Iowa State's defense. And Iowa State last year, remember, they thought their quarterback was going to be Deckers. And then all of a sudden he got suspended prior to the season. So Rocco Becht was thrown into the fire. Becht got better as the season went on. And Becht has been their quarterback this year. He's got a solid 6-2 ratio. I like Iowa State minus 13.5 over Houston. And they were a very solid away favorite in Big 12 play last year. All right, and our final one, we're going to go with a solid big favorite, and that is Oregon against UCLA. Now, remember a couple weeks ago, we had Indiana over UCLA, a very comfortable win. We're going to put UCLA on the right. They did play with LSU last week. That was a game where LSU might have overlooked them a little bit. But the thing about Oregon, they hadn't been playing good football. And not even through the first half of the Oregon State game. Remember, I used that on the tour, and it was at the half, Oregon State had a 218 to 217-yard edge. They only led 22 to 14. Boom. Finally, Oregon came to play. Look at the Idaho game. They had a 487 217-yard. They just weren't punching it in. 31 to 10 first downs. This second half, they were dominant. They outscored them 47 to nothing, or 27 to nothing in the second half, so they can put the points on the board. And of course, you could see this in your magazine, but I'll show you here. Oh no, here, away favorite, 7-2 as an away favorite. How about away favorite in conference play? 7-1 as an away favorite in conference play. 17-6 if you go back 10 years. You got to like that. And they're a big favorite in conference play. 6-1 is a 20-plus favorite. So they can handle this role, guys. In fact, they had had a poor record, but this is 3-1, 3-2-1, 5-2-1, 9-3-1, dating back the last 5 years. So remember, all this information's at your fingertips on every game. And so see how they've done in the series. They have won the last 4 in the series, 3-1 ATS. I like that. So they've got a solid series record. I think Oregon can handle the big favorites role here. They're 6-1 as a 20-plus conference favorite. And UCLA is 0-2 as a dog of that much, I believe. Let's go up and take a look at UCLA. How about a conference dog at 20-plus? Conference dog, 20-plus. They've only been that once in the last 5-6 years, and they're 0-1. They, of course, lost to Indiana by more than this. I actually think Oregon's a better team than Indiana. And so you add it all up, we're going to take Oregon minus 25 over UCLA. There's your 5 quick hitters. They are guaranteed to have a winning week this week. Once again, let's get that quick hitter tour up here. There's your code word. If for any reason we don't go at least 3-2 on these plays, you're going to my website. You're getting my NFL Press Box for free this weekend. Don't forget to check out those FCS plays either Friday or Saturday morning. You'll be notified. Make sure you hit subscribe. That way you're going to be notified whenever something's posted. And I'd like to take this time to thank you for taking the Phil Steele Plus tour with me this weekend. And make sure you take advantage of all those great specials I had for you this week.